Okay, I think we are live. Yes, we are.
Excellent. Perfect.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Farouk. I think um, some of you knows me already from the PowerShell community, from the PowerShell Arabia community. And last time we had a session with the amazing Heiko about Scriptrunner and PowerShell and how it adds the value, extra value to the PowerShell. So in this session, we will have, you know, we will show one of the values that can be added to the PowerShell um, using, you know, adding the script runner, you know, in your formula and in your scenario. So I think Heiko, you can introduce yourself.
Yes, sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah. Hello everyone. So my name is Heiko. I'm with Scriptrunner and yeah, I'm looking forward to show you how we can help you to automate and simplify the way that you manage your Active Directory tasks and your recurring tasks. Yeah.
Perfect. So I will start. Okay. So in this session, just before you start, you can put your questions in the comment section on the YouTube video, and we're gonna have maybe a 3 or 5 minutes just for the questions. You can ask later questions also, and either me or the community also will try to answer it for you. So let me just start. So basically, we will start this in two parts. The first part is where actually we show the PowerShell scripts in Active Directory and what can we do with the Active Directory module in PowerShell. And then we will notice, actually, we will already notice the issues and some of the challenges that will face us while using PowerShell. PowerShell is awesome, but still it can have its some of the limitations. Then Heiko will talk to us about how Scriptrunner is adding the value that we need to for these PowerShell scripts. So let me just share my screen here and okay. So I think everyone, Heiko, I think you can see my screen already.
Yes,
Okay. So
absolutely.
basically, this is a domain controller that I have here. And for this session, we already have a bunch of scripts. Okay. So we have actually around four scripts we gonna demonstrate here in this session. So basically, okay, we're gonna talk about these scripts and what they do. Okay, so let's start with the simplest thing in Active Directory. The most common thing is the password reset. So basically, this is a simple script to reset your password using the PowerShell. So basically, if I run this, so running this, you can see, it's prompting us to put the username. So I already have a user called Fen1, and then after you press enter, it will ask you to put the password. Okay, so and that's it. So now the password is reset it. So uh, y- you can give the script to to the people who are less technical, or the help desk, or to do these tasks. But here's the drag and here's the problem. The main problem is the delegation part, because in Active Directory, to give the permissions, you need to give the permissions to do such these tasks. So uh, you have to come here, to the respected OU, and then press the delegate control, and you go through the process to allow the password reset. So this can be a tough thing, um, you know, uh, like it's not really a tough thing, but it can be, a challenge when it comes to the, from the security perspective and from the auditing perspective as well. So let's take another example as well. So we have moving in this script. Basically we are just moving the it is used to move an object from you know OU to an OU. So let's take an example here. I have a computer here, it's called dummy1, and let's just run the script. So what the script will do, it will prompt us to put the SAM account name of this object. So this, since this is, a computer, so it should have the dollar sign at the end. So yeah, so let's take this as an example. So what this script will do basically, it's going to check what is the type of your object. So if the object is a user, so basically if the object is a computer, it will move it to this OU, okay? And if it's a user, it will just move it to this OU. So basically this is going to be a computer. So if I press on dummy1 here and enter, so you can see now this was already moved. And if we come here and refresh, you can see that dummy1 already disappeared. If I come here, you can see that dummy1 was moved. Now this is something awesome also, but one of the it has many limitations. First of all, uh, even if you convert the script to something, GUI using Windows Form or something, you have a lots of work to do. And the main issue here is that the permission part or the delegation part, because in our case we have delegate control. We have to delegate the control and give the right object, um, you know, permission on this OU, which can be very risky, by the way, because if anyone have an, a right object permission uh, to a certain OU, it's going to he can create any type of objects in that OU. And plus, when it comes to the auditing part as well, because when you do a lot of delegation, when the time passes and you do a lot of the delegation, you don't realize it after some time. You no longer know who's having what permission. Okay, so yeah, this is great and awesome, but it has, these issues. Moving forward, so this is an inactive account script. So basically, this small script will, just search for the inactive uh, computers or users that are, didn't log in since 90 days, as it mentions here. And regardless of the output format that you use on the script, so you can output this result to a CSV file or an XML file or even a grid view, okay, which I'm going to show here. So again, this is great, but we still have the issues of, uh, the issue of tracking and the issue of, you have to give the correct permission for the users to actually to do this search. And one of the main issues actually that we face actually when it comes to the when you give someone a PowerShell script, um, you are trusting this person. And this level of trust can be scary and, uncomfortable, because imagine if this guy knows PowerShell and you don't know about it, and he can modify the script and do something that damage your environment, you know. So this is also, something critical. And this applies to all our examples here. The last example I'm going to discuss about here is the DNS. And this is, by the way, a very dangerous one, because normally if you want to create DNS records, you don't, you as a DevOps person or a system admin, you don't want to do these tasks. Uh, but we can call these tasks toil tasks, where you don't want to do it. So because it simply wastes your time, and your time is more valuable on the things that add a value to your organization. So uh, so what do you do basically? You create a script like this and you give it to a person who's less technical. Now this is a big issue here, because if you want to create a DNS record, so you need to add um, you need to give full access or DNS administrator access on the domain controller, assuming that your DNS is integrated with Active Directory. Even if it's not, still you need to give that permission, and that permission will give the user access to the server itself, to the server operating system, uh, hard disks, etc. So this can be very dangerous. You are giving a permission to someone who doesn't know much about servers, to to your server, and you're just hoping that he will not do something wrong you know so if we just let me just run this script, for example. So this will create a DNS record. This is the name of the server. Let's say the name is Jack, and the IP address is something like this. um let's say 88. Okay, that's fine. So we can see now the record has been created. So if I could just go to open my DNS here. Um, so yeah, basically this is my Jack record and it has the 88. Okay. And this is very risky, by the way. And you're giving someone the permission to create the DNS record. Um, like now, before before we move forward with Heiko, even though PowerShell provides, even though Microsoft provide just enough administration, or GIA, which can help in managing these tasks, but the issue with GIA is that it has, first of all, it's difficult to configure. It's not that easy to configure for you as an admin, and you need to make sure that people who are accessing the GIA uh, access points, actually have the proper um, knowledge to use PowerShell as well. So logically, this doesn't make any sense, because you're your less technical team, they can barely do the main technical stuff. So imagine you want them to know PowerShell. So yeah, this also doesn't make any sense for me. So now, since we introduced these things, so and we introduced some of the scripts, okay, and what actually what can we do with the PowerShell um, Active Directory module. So I think, Heiko, you will give us the good news about Scriptrunner and how we can convert these stuff into a real valuable, secure, more better and fancy way to use, actually.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, yeah, let me just add this to the screen here. I think, do you have to? Maybe you have to add it to the
Yep.
screen.
Yeah. Yep. Now
Yeah,
we
perfect.
can see.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I think the examples that you showed are very, very interesting and great examples, because it shows all the great stuff that you can do with PowerShell. So there are a lot of possibilities, and so as long as you're the administrator and you have all the permissions and you know how to use the modules and the commandlets, it's absolutely fantastic. And so the foundation PowerShell for automation is absolutely great. And so I want to show you how you can take this and start delegating this in a secure and easy way. All right. So my name is Heiko. I'm with Scriptrunner for 4 years now, and a quick introduction into who we are. So this is part of our team. We are based in Germany. We've been around since 2014. We're about 25 people, and we have about 1,800 scripts on our GitHub repository, which you can use for all kinds of platforms, for Active Directory, of course, but also for Exchange, Office 65, Azure, and stuff like that. So if you want to go to github.com/scriptrunner/action packs, you can see all these scripts, and they can be really helpful, either for inspiration about to
Mm.
see what you can do with PowerShell, but also to actually take these scripts, download them, modify them as you want, and playing around with them. And and then on top of that, again, depending on also where you are on your PowerShell journey, we have a lot of PowerShell goodies. We have a PowerShell cheat sheet that you can get from our website. We have a security ebook for PowerShell. We have a cheat sheet for Teams in PowerShell and for Exchange in PowerShell. So
Mhm.
if you go to our website, you can get this all for free here. And if you want to get in touch with me, you find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Of course, you can use email, and also including this presentation will be on my GitHub repository. And so now let's talk about what Scriptrunner brings on to the table when we talk about managing Active Directory and other systems with PowerShell. So the overall idea is standardizing, automating, delegating all kinds of recurring tasks as long as they can build upon a PowerShell script. Then you can trigger the scripts interactively, for example, by people from the help desk team, but it also can be scheduled executions, or you want to allow another system like monitoring or ITSM system to trigger scripts. That's what you can do. And then you can have a detailed reporting that shows you what actually happens. So when we talk about auditing and getting some information about also compliance wise to see, okay, which user triggered or created a new user or reset the password or stuff like that. This is why we have the reporting here, which I'm also going to show you. And that's all possible because we are centralizing the whole management of scripts and modules. We are also centralizing the way you manage the credentials that are necessary to connect to your AD or to every other system that you want to manage. And especially for the delegation part, of course, it needs to be easy because we typically talk about people who maybe don't even know that PowerShell exists. And so what happens here is that we are automatically translating every PowerShell script into a web user interface, which means we're looking into the synopsis, we're looking into the param block of a script, and then we translate that into a web form where you can also decide which of these parameters that you might have in your scripts are actually become visible and which one are still there and they're going to be used in the background, but no need to show this to the user, and even worse, confuse the user, like scrolling through 25 parameters only to find the two where there's some interaction necessary. So this is a really an important aspect, and I will show you that now how this actually looks like when we take a look at the solution itself. So let me just go to my VM here, and let's take a look at how this, for example, one of the use cases that Faruk just showed us could look like, or looks like, in combination with using Scriptrunner, which would be resetting a password. So here you see different tiles. Each tile represents a use case where behind this use case there is at least one PowerShell script. And as we talk about PowerShell, of course, it can be things for Active Directory, it can be for Azure, for Office 65, for VMware. So you can also categorize things. So in case of people in help desk that have different responsibilities, maybe not only for Active Directory, so it's easy to navigate here. You can also work with colors and icons here. And also, as a help desk person, I can see what I have done in the past. Like here, I can see, okay, I created an Active Directory report, and then I can go back and I can see the result, and I could open this again and maybe send it to me and stuff like that. So here I have access to all the activities that I did in the past. For example, here also we already have an example of where here there was a password reset. So that's the reporting part. And the run part here is really doing something, starting a task. And if I'm clicking here on this reset Active Directory password, we can see, okay, we have a couple of parameters, the OU, then the user, and then, okay, we want to reset a password. Now, what we can also provide here is some additional information to really explain what's happening here, and maybe also what is necessary. Like we can see, okay, when we type in the password, it has to follow a certain pattern. Like, okay, we need 16 characters, we need at least one number and one special character. And the nice thing also about this is that it can be used in multiple languages, which means if, for example, I'm switching to French here, then the explanation on top here changes, and also the parameter description, which actually comes from within the script, and I will show you how that works in a second. And the idea here really is to make it as easy as possible for the user to understand and to work with that. And that's also true in the sense of, okay, for which user I want to reset a password right here. So in the example that Trevor showed us, he had to type in the name. And then, of course, if we think about delegation, we don't want people to type when it's not necessary. And we want to make sure that they are, for example, maybe they should not be allowed to reset a password for the VIP people, for the C-level people, or something like this. So what you can do here is you can provide a list of the existing OU. You could say, okay, I can switch to Australia, for example, and then I can see the users from this OU. If I'm changing that, for example, to Canada, I now see the users from this OU. So this works dynamically. And so that would be an example for a person who is globally responsible, let's say, for all the users in all OUs. Now, in another use case, you might want to limit that and say, okay, this person is only responsible for a particular OU. And then what you can do is you can say, I predefine the OU and I hide the possibility to select others. And then if you delegate that to this group of people who are only responsible for this OU, they have no possibility to work with any other objects. So coming back to security and permissions and scopes and responsibilities. So this is really where you have to control what kind of objects these people are allowed to work with. And so now, okay, I've selected the user, and so I have to follow a certain rule, 16 characters. I need a number and a special character. And as long as I'm not following this rule, I will not be able to click on this run button in the lower left corner. This is grayed out right now. And if I'm doing the thing correctly, hopefully, then it turns into orange, and now I could run it. Now, and the way that this works, so let's take a look at the underlying script. So there are two things that we saw here, and how you can manage that in your script is like the multi-language topic. So here you can work with language prefixes. So this tells us what to display if the user switches, for example, to French or to Spanish or to English. So it's something that really that you can use your script to define the behavior of your user interface in a very easy way. And then down here in the param section, we have two things. We have a validate length that says, okay, we need to have at least 16 characters. And we have a validate pattern, which in this case happens to be a regular expression that I got somewhere from the internet because I'm not really the regular expression expert. But this makes sure that, okay, we need to have at least a special character and a number. And so again, as long as this pattern is not met by what the user is doing, I'm not able to run it. But now, as I did everything correctly, I can click on the run button, and now in the background, Scriptrunner is executing the script for this user, so to speak, with the input by the user. But very important, me as the user who is working here with Scriptrunner, I don't need to have any direct access to the Active Directory. which also means I don't need to have any permissions, any admin permissions in the AD or in other systems that where you want to delegate tasks. So very important to see that the PowerShell part happens in the background on the Scriptrunner side. From the user perspective, it's really just an input form, and then everything else is done in the background. And so based on that, all kinds of different use cases can be delegated here. For example, also creating a new user or starting an onboarding process. To maybe you have a CSV file with the 10 people that start next month, and so you could just drag and drop this here, and then the users will be automatically created. And so really this is already, I think, very, very easy to use. And another thing that you could do, you could take each of these tasks and you could integrate them into an already existing website, maybe a self-service portal. So for example, right here, we have the same functionality, resetting a password. I can select the OUs just the same way as we just did in the portal. But now I might be even closer to the user where they work day in, day out. And so Scriptrunner just becomes one part of this user interface. So in this case, obviously, nobody needs to know anything about PowerShell. But here also, nobody needs to know anything about Scriptrunner, actually, because this all happens in the background. And down here, this is actually, so here we still have the example where I can select OUs. And down here, that would be an example for a user where I say, okay, a particular group of people is only responsible for people in the OU UK. So no chance to select an OU. So the only thing that I see are the users of this particular OU. So this is how you can very easily make sure the people are only working with what they should really, or what they're allowed to work with. And the nice thing about these two cases over here and this one here, the underlying script is exactly the same. So instead of modifying your script, or even worse, maybe duplicate a script and say, this is the script for the UK guys, this is the script for the global guys, so to speak. That's not necessary. You have the exact same script, and so Scriptrunner sits on top of your scripts as the management layer, and this is where you decide what you want to display, who should be able to use it, so who would be the people you delegate this use case to. So you have all kinds of control and possibilities to exactly make sure people are doing the right thing. And if we go back here to the help desk role, now we can see, okay, the password has been reset, and we get some information back. Now, in this case, it's a simple plain text message, but it also could be something in HTML and more detailed if you want to, or less detailed. So this is really up to you about, okay, what information is necessary for the users here. And so now the question is like, okay, how can you actually do that, or what is the admin part of this whole scenario? So let me just go back here and open the portal again. But now I'm logged in as an administrator, and I can do many more things. I have all kinds of access to objects, and especially the monitoring. So here, instead of just seeing what I've did as a user, I have the global view on all the activities. And here I can see, okay, user Tina, she started this reset password use case. I can click on it. I can see, okay, yes, it was user Tina, and she used the action that talked to our domain controller. This has been the parameters, and here we can already sense there are parameters that we didn't see as a user for good reasons, because some things are just defined on the company level, like, okay, this is the behavior that should be used all the time, and no need to show it to the user. So again, to make it easy for the user and to make sure things work according to your company policies. And so, yeah, so here I can see in detail also actually what happens in the background on the PowerShell side of things. And that's, of course, also helpful if we have things where we have to analyze because something didn't work. So we can say, okay, let me show I want to see all the things where something didn't work, and then I can go in here and I will find out that in this case, it's related to VMware. I haven't started my VMware host, so that's why I get a connection error here. But this kind of gives you an idea about you really have all the information in one single place about all your PowerShell activities. And that's true for all the interactive use cases, but also for things where you want to have people, where you have scheduled things going on, or where you have another system also to trigger things in Scriptrunner. So here Scriptrunner really becomes this single solution, this centralized solution for everything that has to do with PowerShell, which also includes, of course, now here you can manage all your scripts, the credentials, the targets, and of course the delegation. So to make sure that the right people are able to use and to work with the right things, and that's of course can be very granular if necessary, and that's typically also done. The delegation is typically done based on AD groups or Azure AD groups, and then you can decide, okay, if a person should be a Scriptrunner admin, which means configure things in Scriptrunner, or should it be a help desk user? So being someone like this who can start tasks, for example, or should it be an end user, which typically would work with something like this that I showed you here with this integrated portal widget, as we call it. And so that's what you configure here. And so again, you have the underlying awesome technology, which is PowerShell, and together with Scriptrunner, you create a solution where you really are able to delegate things in a secure way. So no need to give these people permissions in the backend systems, and still they work in a way that it is manageable, and you make sure they're doing the right things and freeing up time for you to do other things, maybe more important things, project works, concentrating on innovations and stuff like that. So that's really where we have the goal of Scriptrunner, to free up time and for you to get rid of this task where people come in 20 times a day and ask you resetting passwords, setting out of office, creating new user, starting an onboarding process, stuff like that. So it's really about standardizing these processes, putting it into a script, and start delegating it. And talking about scripts, I mentioned this early on. We have this 1800 scripts on our GitHub repository, and you can just go there. You can obviously download the whole package, or you can say, okay, I only want to start with a single use case. Then just take this script. You will see how we built this, which is basically based on the best practice approach by Microsoft. And it also can be a very good way of maybe starting to learn how to use PowerShell. So these action packs are really a helpful way of maybe adding new value to what you might already do with PowerShell. So, and if you like what you saw, you could go to our website, scriptrunner.com. You can download the solution, install it yourself. There's a 30-day trial where you can work with every option of our solution. And if you have individual questions or requirements, I would be happy also to talk to you and talk about your requirements and the things that you would like to automate and delegate and get rid of, and enable help desk people to do more and also faster for their customer. Because it's one thing is, of course, we talk about you as the IT pros and admins to standardize and automate and delegate, but also the help desk people typically see the benefit of, okay, now if something comes in like a password reset or other tickets, they can solve these tickets much faster themselves. They don't have to wait for somebody else. And so typically also the help desk people are kind of starting to see the benefit, because their service gets better, they're faster, and then which also means, of course, their customer, the end users, are also become more happy typically. Yeah, so that would be it so far from my side to give you an introduction
Mhm.
into how Scriptrunner can help you to really bring PowerShell to the next level.
Yeah, well, thank you, Haiku, very much. I think you mentioned very, important things here. One of the important thing I would like to mention here is that you have um, what I see interesting about this is that um, let's say there are many tools, um, I would say many configuration management tools that you can, they're in the market and you can look. They have so many capabilities, but this is the main problem that I see in many of the configuration management tools, which is customization. Okay, so what happens is that you're buying a tool that has a big number of capabilities. Okay, so most of the time you don't need all these capabilities. This is the first thing. So you're paying for something that you're not using. And the second thing, um, you are just stick with the way how this tool was built. So you need to learn how this tool is used and it is, how it can do the job. So what's amazing about PowerShell, about Scriptrunner, is that it is actually taking your regular PowerShell script to the next level. So that means you just, if you know PowerShell, that's it. It's as simple as that. You know PowerShell, so you want to take it to the next level. You want to you want to make it easier for the, for other people to work with. Okay, your scripts, in a secure matter. Okay, without giving those permissions. So you just basically use script runner, and it is the same PowerShell scripts that you have. Okay, it's not, you're not in, creating something new. It's the same scripts that you have. You just add script runner as an extra layer, and now you're just converting your scripts into a web services that people can, your regular IT people or even your non-technical personnel to use. So this is a huge advantage and a huge value. Okay, from the knowledge level. Okay, because you're actually, you know something like PowerShell, and you're utilizing that, in a more advanced way, and from the cost perspective as well, because as I mentioned from the at the beginning, when you consider configuration management, you can see in the market how expensive the tools are and how the license modules are, can be in many times can be very tough for the customers, but yet a lot of people, they have to buy it, but because they want the automation. But now with script runner, it's just amazing. You have the scripts, you just add this layer to it, which is script runner, and you just create wonders. Yeah, so this is how I see it.
Sounds
So
great to me.
yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's not just, I'm not telling this, these are the facts. I'm not telling something, to make it look nice. I'm talking about, actual facts. It's not, it's the reality.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the questions, let me just mention one part. I myself, I've been playing with a script runner, and yeah, and I'm also looking. You guys have the YouTube channel as well, so it has many, examples on, how to configure things and all that. So what I'm going to do also, and in the PowerShell community channel as well, I myself, I will also, get like as they say, I'll get my hand dirty and do the things with script runner, and maybe definitely I will show more. Just now what just we showed now, it is a high level thing. Of course we cannot do the we cannot mention the detailed stuff, because we will need more time to do that. So what I'm going to do also from my side, I will work on script runner. I will do some examples and demonstrations, maybe some advanced stuff, and cases with Active Directory, and maybe other things also as well. So this definitely will give people, more a better idea. But I believe after this session, people have at least a good idea about what Script Runner can do. Yeah, so I think with more detailed sessions, people can have um, more, I would say, more things to do, and yeah, and lots of showcases actually. So I think I'm checking the questions part. Um, I can see that many people are watching, which is great. But yeah, I think until now there are no questions. It's all thanks messages, which is great. Yeah. So yeah, so I think we already passed for 40 minutes. So yeah, I think from my side, I will just work extra on the script runner part. So I think we can say we finished the demonstration. It was a nice session. Thank you, Haiku, very much. And if do you have anything else you would like to say before we just close this?
I'm yes, as I thank you to organize that. It's always fun to be here and yeah, to talk about all the things that can be done with PowerShell. So thanks again for everyone who joined us, and thanks Farrick for organizing it. It was great.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Good night for people here in Saudi Arabia. I don't know about the rest of the world. So yeah. See you, everyone. Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.